Get out! Her big day doesn't need a selfish, ungrateful embarrassment like you. My father's voice shook with rage as he pointed at the door. My stepmother smirked behind him. My sister Vanessa fake cried in her designer dress, whispering loud enough for me to hear. She's always trying to ruin everything. I looked at the man who once called me his hero and said only one word: fine. 2 weeks ago, he threw me out. The same daughter who spent 4 hours in surgery donating bone marrow to save Vanessa's life. The same daughter who's been quietly paying $138,000 of her medical debt for 4.5 years while they planned a $165,000 dream wedding. The next morning, Dad smiled at my empty room and said, "Good. Now nothing will ruin the wedding." But yesterday, the venue manager, a woman they didn't know, walked into their final meeting, placed an old hospital file on the table, and spoke words that ended everything. "My name is Morgan Nelson. I'm 27 years old. If you've ever been used and thrown away by the people you sacrificed everything for, drop a like and comment, 'I know the pain,' below. Tell me where you're watching from. This story is just getting started. Let me take you back to where this really began. September 2015. I was 16 years old when my mother died. Amanda Nelson fought leukemia for 18 months. I watched her fade in that hospice bed. The same woman who used to dance in the kitchen while making Sunday pancakes, who sang off-key to the radio, who made everything feel safe. By the end, she couldn't lift her head off the pillow. The night she died, she held my hand. Her fingers were cold, papery. She looked at me, really looked at me, and whispered, "Be strong, baby. Don't let anyone make you feel small." 3 hours later, she was gone. My father didn't cry at the funeral. I noticed. I was 16 and drowning in grief, but I noticed. He stood by the casket with dry eyes, accepting condolences like he was checking items off a list. Afterwards, he took off his tie in the car and said, "We'll get through this." I didn't know what this meant yet. I didn't know this meant forgetting her. The weeks after Mom died blurred into a gray fog. I slept in her bed for a month because it still smelled like her vanilla lotion. I kept finding her hair on the pillow. Long, dark strands that I couldn't bring myself to vacuum up. Dad threw himself into work, coming home later and later. Some nights I ate cereal for dinner alone at the kitchen island, while he sat in the garage with a bottle of whiskey. I was 16, trying to keep the house running. Doing laundry, cooking simple meals, pretending I was okay so he wouldn't have to worry. But every time I passed the family photos in the hallway, I felt a piece of me cracking. Mom was disappearing from the walls. And soon, it felt like she was disappearing from us too. 9 months later, Dad told me he was getting married again. June 2016. I came home from school and found him sitting at the kitchen table with a woman I'd never met. Her name was Corinne. She had dark hair, perfect makeup, and a smile that looked rehearsed. "Morgan, honey," she said, standing up, "I've heard so much about you." She hadn't, I could tell. Behind her was a girl about 13 years old, Vanessa, Corinne's daughter. She had her mother's dark hair and the same watchful eyes. Dad cleared his throat. "Corinne and I are engaged. We're getting married in August." I stared at him. "August? This August?" "I know it seems fast," Dad said. "But life is short, Morgan. Your mom would want me to be happy." I wanted to say, "You don't get to decide what Mom would want. You don't get to erase her in 9 months." Instead, I said nothing. At the engagement dinner, at Andina restaurant, which had been Mom's favorite, which made it worse, Corinne smiled at me across the table. "Morgan, honey, I'm not trying to replace your mom. I just want us to be a family." She said it like a promise. It felt like a warning. Vanessa whispered something to Corinne in Spanish. I didn't understand the words, but I saw Corinne's expression shift. A look passed between them. Mother and daughter. A unit I wasn't part of. Dad married Corinne that August. By September, they'd moved into our house. By October, things started disappearing. Mom's photos came down first. Too painful for your father, Corinne explained, boxing them up. Then Mom's books, her piano, her garden tools. One day I came home from school and Mom's piano, the upright she'd had since college, was just gone. Where's the piano? I asked. Corinne was arranging Vanessa's art supplies on the cleared space. We needed room, honey. Vanessa's quite talented. That was my mom's. I know, but it was just taking up space. Nobody played it anymore. Nobody asked me if I played it. Nobody asked if I wanted it. They just erased it. By my senior year, the pattern was crystal clear. At Christmas 2017, Corinne replaced Mom's traditional Swedish ginger cookies with her own pecan pie recipe. New family traditions, she announced cheerfully. Vanessa got the biggest pile of presents while mine were practical. Socks. A planner. When I opened a small photo album I'd made of Mom's old recipes, Corinne smiled politely and set it aside. That's sweet, honey. It never made it under the tree again. School events were worse. Vanessa's dance recitals got the whole family in the front row with flowers. My academic award ceremony? Dad came alone, left early for a work call. Corinne redecorated my bedroom while I was at a weekend debate tournament. When I came home, my posters were gone, replaced by neutral beige walls and a guest room vibe. We thought you'd like it fresher for when you visit from college, she said. I was still living there. My room became the guest room the following year. Corinne redecorated, new paint, new curtains, new bedding. My things got moved to the basement. So you have more space when you come home from college, she said. I was 17. I hadn't left for college yet. Holidays stopped including Mom's traditions. No more Christmas Eve fondue. No more 4th of July strawberry shortcake. No more October pumpkin carving. Corinne had her own traditions. Vanessa's traditions. I spent more and more time at my best friend Jenna's house. Her mom asked once, gentle, "How are things at home, Morgan?" I said, "Fine." I was lying. Thanksgiving 2019. I showed up at Dad's house and Corinne had set 4 places at the table. Not 5. "Oh," she said when I walked in. "I thought you were eating with friends." She'd assumed I wouldn't come. Or hoped. Dad added a 5th chair without a word. Didn't correct her. Didn't apologize. Just silently moved the centerpiece over and squeezed in another place setting. That's when I understood. I was optional. In my own family. In the house where I grew up. I was the guest they tolerated. By 2021, I'd learned to be invisible. I was 22, finishing my degree at Portland State University. I lived on campus. Came home maybe twice a month. Stayed quiet. Didn't make waves. I thought that was how it would be forever. Me on the margins, them in the center, everyone pretending it was fine. Then Vanessa got sick. And suddenly, I mattered again. June 2021. My phone rang at midnight. Dad's name on the screen. He never called that late. "Morgan." His voice was wrong, hollow. "Vanessa's in the hospital. It's serious. You need to come." I drove to Riverside Medical Center in my pajamas. Found Dad and Corinne in the waiting room. They looked shattered. Dad's face was gray. Corinne's makeup was smeared from crying. "What happened?" I said. Dad looked up. "It's leukemia." 2 words. The same disease that killed Mom. The diagnosis was acute lymphoblastic leukemia. Aggressive, life-threatening. Without treatment, the oncologist said Vanessa had 4 to 8 months. With treatment, chemotherapy, radiation, and a bone marrow transplant, she had a 65 to 75% chance of 5-year survival, but she needed a donor. They tested Dad first. Partial match. 5 out of 10 HLA markers. Not enough. Corinne wasn't biologically related, so she couldn't match. That left me. 7 days waiting for results. I Googled bone marrow donation every night, read about the procedure, 4 hours of surgery, weeks of recovery, possible complications. I read survivor stories, donor stories, stories about pain that lasted months. I didn't care. Vanessa was 18 years old. However, I felt about our family, about Corinne, about being pushed to the edges. I wasn't going to let her die if I could help it. The doctor called on day 7. Morgan, you're a perfect match. 10 out of 10. Early July, we had a family meeting with Dr. Raymond Shaw, the oncologist. He laid it out clearly. Without a transplant from me, Vanessa's survival chances dropped to less than 20%. Dad looked at me across that hospital table. Morgan, he said, and his voice broke. Will you? Yes, I said. Of course. In the family meeting with Dr. Shaw, the oncologist was brutally honest. He showed us charts, survival rates, and the risks of the transplant for me as donor. Dad kept nodding, but his eyes were glassy. Corinne cried quietly into a tissue. Vanessa looked terrified. When the doctor asked if I understood I might face long-term side effects, chronic pain, fatigue, even fertility issues, I swallowed hard and said yes anyway. Patricia, who was assisting that day, gave me a small, encouraging nod from the corner of the room. I clung to that nod like a lifeline. Corinne started crying. Real tears, for once. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you so much. Vanessa, pale and thin from chemo, looked at me with frightened eyes. Will it hurt you? I lied. Not really. The truth was, it would hurt like hell, but watching her die would hurt more. August 14th, 2021, the night before surgery. I was alone in the pre-op room. Dad visited for 10 minutes, stood in the doorway like he didn't know whether to come in or leave. You don't have to do this, he said finally. Yes, I do. He nodded. Didn't say thank you. Just left. Corinne sent a text. We're praying for you. Vanessa didn't visit. She was too sick. I told myself that was okay. A nurse came in to check my vitals. She introduced herself as Patricia. Mid-40s, kind eyes, steady hands. I'll be here when you wake up, she said. You're doing something extraordinary. I didn't feel extraordinary. I felt scared. August 15th, 2021. 4 hours under general anesthesia. When I woke up, everything was on fire. My hips, my lower back, my entire pelvis, burning, grinding, crushing pain. Patricia was there, like she promised. You did it, she said softly. Vanessa's transplant is starting now. I tried to speak. Couldn't. Just nodded. Then passed out again. I was hospitalized for 3 days. The pain was constant, an 8 or 9 out of 10 even with medication. I couldn't sit up. Couldn't walk without help. Physical therapy was torture. Dad visited twice. Each time he stayed maybe 10 minutes. Asked how I was feeling. Said Vanessa's doing well. Then left. Corinne visited once. I kept track. I don't know why. Maybe because when you're lying in a hospital bed in that much pain, alone most of the time, you notice who shows up and who doesn't. Vanessa's room was across the hall. I could see the visitors coming and going. Balloons, flowers, cards. Corinne practically lived there. Dad was there every day. Patricia noticed too. On day 2 post-op, I pressed the call button because I needed help getting to the bathroom. She came immediately. Where's your dad? She asked, helping me stand. I checked the board outside my door where they logged visitors. With Vanessa, I said. Patricia's mouth tightened, but she didn't say anything. Discharge day, I needed a wheelchair. Corinne said, we'll pick you up after we check on Vanessa. They were an hour late. The first 2 weeks at home were hell. The extraction sites on my hips throbbed constantly. I couldn't lie on my back. Showers took 45 minutes because I had to sit on a plastic chair. Dad would poke his head in, ask, "You good?" and disappear to Vanessa's room. Corinne brought me soup once and left the bowl on the nightstand without a word. I remember lying there at 3 a.m., feverish and crying silently into my pillow, scrolling through old photos of Mom on my phone. That was when I first realized I had given part of my body to keep Vanessa alive, but in this house, I was still invisible. Home recovery was worse than the hospital. Infections set in at the extraction sites, fever, antibiotics. I couldn't return to Portland State for fall semester. Stayed at Dad's house because I couldn't manage stairs at my campus apartment. I felt like a ghost living there. They were so focused on Vanessa, her recovery, her checkups, her medication schedule, that I disappeared into the walls. September 2021. Vanessa came home. She was weak, but improving. Cancer-free, the doctors said. A miracle. Thanksgiving that year, Vanessa was healthy enough to come to dinner. Everyone celebrated. Corinne made a toast. "To Vanessa," she said, raising her glass. "Our survivor." I was sitting right there, in a heating pad, still in pain 4 months later, taking ibuprofen like candy. No one toasted the donor. December 2021, a medical bill arrived. Total charges, $680,000. Insurance paid, $520,000. Patient responsibility, $160,000. I opened it in the kitchen, stared at that number, felt sick. Dad walked in, saw the paper in my hands. "Insurance will handle it," he said. Took the bill. Filed it somewhere. I wanted to believe him. October 2021, 3 months after the donation. My phone rang while I was in the campus library, trying to catch up on coursework I'd missed. Unknown number, collection agency. "Ms. Nelson, this is regarding an outstanding medical balance of $160,000 for treatment provided to Vanessa Nelson in June and July 2021. We need to discuss payment arrangements." My stomach dropped. That was supposed to be covered by insurance. Insurance paid their portion. The remaining balance is patient responsibility. Services were rendered during a lapse in coverage. I called Dad immediately. "Dad, there's a $160,000 medical bill." Silence on the other end. "Dad? I declared bankruptcy last month, Morgan. I can't help." I felt the world tilt. Bankruptcy? When? January. Corinne thought. He stopped. It was the best option. "You protected yourself and left me with Vanessa's debt. I didn't know they'd come after you. I thought." "You didn't think," I said. My voice was shaking. "You let the insurance lapse between jobs. In June, right when Vanessa got sick. And now I'm responsible?" Another long silence. "I'm sorry, Morgan." He hung up. I sat in that library for 2 hours, staring at nothing. Then I looked up bankruptcy law, credit collection law, medical debt law. The debt was legally collectible. Jeffrey Nelson had declared bankruptcy, removing his liability. The next responsible party was family. I'd signed consent forms for the donation. My name was in the files. They could pursue me. I was 22 years old with $160,000 in medical debt for saving my sister's life. I met with the hospital billing department in November. They offered a payment plan, $2,380 a month for 7 years. My income at the time, $18 an hour as a graphic design intern, plus DoorDash deliveries. Total monthly income after taxes, about $2,800. Rent, $1,200. Food, $400. Insurance, $180. Gas, $150. "I can't afford this," I told the billing coordinator. She looked at me with practiced sympathy. We can work with you on reduced payments. How reduced? Maybe $1,500 a month? I laughed. It came out bitter. I'll starve. I'll note that you need financial hardship consideration, she said, typing. Someone will call you. Nobody called. I started working 3 jobs. Graphic design intern 40 hours a week. DoorDash 20 hours. Freelance logo design 10 to 15 hours whenever I could get clients. I moved to a studio apartment for $1,200 a month, the cheapest I could find that wasn't actively dangerous. I ate ramen, rice and beans, peanut butter sandwiches, stopped going out, stopped dating. Every spare dollar went to that debt. I set up an anonymous GoFundMe, help bone marrow donor pay medical debt. I wrote the story carefully. No names, just facts. In 2021, I donated bone marrow to save my sister's life. Due to insurance gaps, I'm responsible for $160,000 in medical debt. I've been working 3 jobs to pay it down. Any help appreciated. Over 2 years, it raised $9,800. It wasn't nothing, but it wasn't enough. I paid $2,550 a month, every month, for 4.5 years. Some months I made rent by $100. Some months I didn't make rent and borrowed from Jenna. I delivered food until 2 a.m. on weekends. Drove past bars where people my age were laughing, drinking, living. I went home to spreadsheets, bills, payment confirmations. By April 2026, I'd paid $138,000. Remaining balance, $22,000. My credit score was destroyed. Late payments, maxed credit cards, collections calls. But I was proud. Exhausted, but proud. I ran into Vanessa once at a coffee shop in June 2024. She was with friends, laughing. Saw me, waved awkwardly, didn't introduce me. I checked her Instagram sometimes. I don't know why. Maybe I wanted to see if she ever mentioned me. She didn't. Graduation photos from Portland State, 2023. New job announcement, marketing coordinator at a tech startup. Vacation photos from Mexico. A boyfriend named Bryce. Good-looking, successful, smiling in every photo. And survivor posts. Cancer-free for 3 years. #blessed, #survivor, #living my best life. Never once. My sister saved my life. March 2026. I made payment number 54. $138,000 total paid. I screenshot the confirmation on my phone. Thought about sending it to Vanessa. Didn't. She was in Cabo that week. Posted sunset photos with captions like, "Grateful for this beautiful life." My beautiful life was ramen and spreadsheets. Then Dad texted, "Can we talk? It's about Vanessa's wedding." The Instagram post appeared at 11 p.m. Vanessa and Bryce at Powell's Books, downtown Portland. He'd proposed in the rare books section. Romantic, public, perfectly Instagrammable. The ring was massive. I Googled it later. Similar styles ran $12,000. The caption, "He asked." I said yes. Cancer survivor gets her happily ever after. #blessed #survivor bride. 800 likes in an hour. Comments flooding in. "You deserve this. So happy for you. What a gorgeous ring." I stared at that post at midnight. Couldn't sleep. The ring cost more than I'd paid in medical bills that entire year. She called herself a survivor. Not donor, not sister, not Morgan, just survivor. Like she did it alone. I noticed something else. I wasn't tagged. Wasn't mentioned. I checked her Instagram bio. Marketing coordinator, Portland native, cancer survivor, engaged to my best friend. No sister, no family mention at all. I'd been erased from her origin story. November 2025. Vanessa booked Lakewood Grand Hotel for the wedding. I only knew because Jenna told me. She'd seen it in a mutual friend's story. Package deal. $165,000. Venue, catering, bar service, florals, coordination. The works. Dad would be paying, or trying to. What I didn't know yet, he'd need my help. December 2025, Christmas at Dad's house. I was invited last minute, text the day before. If you're free, come by around 2. I showed up at 2. The dining room table was covered in wedding planning materials, bridal magazines, vendor quotes, seating charts. Vanessa's dress photos spread across the surface. Corinne and Vanessa were excitedly discussing centerpieces. "Morgan," Corinne said, not looking up. "Glad you could make it." I sat down. Nobody asked me about work, school, life. The conversation stayed on the wedding. Finally, I asked, "When's the date?" Vanessa looked at me like I'd interrupted something important. "April 26th. Am I invited?" Silence. "Of course, honey," Corinne said. Vanessa didn't answer. I left early. Nobody noticed. What I didn't know, Dad had co-signed me onto the venue payment agreement. Back in November, Lakewood Grand had run a credit check on Jeffrey Nelson. Post-bankruptcy credit score, 480. Not good enough for a $165,000 booking. The venue required either full payment upfront or a co-signer with good credit. Dad called me mid-November. "I need a favor, just paperwork. I'm booking Vanessa's wedding venue and they need a co-signer for the payment plan. You don't have to do anything, just sign. I'll handle all the payments." I hesitated. Our relationship was strained, but not broken. Not yet. "It's just a formality," he said. "Please, Morgan. For Vanessa." I signed. I didn't read the fine print, didn't know I was giving myself legal standing I'd need later. The contract clause I missed. Co-signer retains right to withdraw authorization if primary signer defaults on payment. February 2026. Dad called again. Different tone. Strained. "Can we meet? I need to talk to you about something." My first thought, Vanessa's sick again. Leukemia relapse. Fear kicked in immediately. "Is Vanessa okay?" "She's fine. It's not medical. Can we meet tomorrow?" I agreed. We met at Stumptown Coffee in the Pearl District. He arrived 10 minutes late looking tired. Ordered coffee, didn't drink it. Small talk. Awkward. Finally, he got to it. "We have a problem with Vanessa's wedding. The final payment is $130,000, due next month. We don't have it." I blinked. "What?" "I know you have savings." "What savings?" "Your mom left you money." "That's gone, Dad. I've been paying medical bills." He looked confused. "What medical bills?" I stared at him. "Vanessa's insurance covered that." I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app, pulled up my payment history. 54 payments, $2,550 each. Total, $138,000. I turned the screen toward him. He went pale. "Insurance covered $520,000, I said. "You let the coverage lapse in June 2021. June and July treatment, emergency chemo, hospitalization, happened during the gap. That's $160,000 patient responsibility. You declared bankruptcy. It fell to me." He sat back, speechless. "You never asked how I was doing," I continued. My voice was steady, cold. "You never asked if I needed help. You protected yourself and moved on. Where did you think that debt went?" "I didn't know they'd come after you, I swear I didn't. But you didn't ask." Silence. Then he pivoted, changed tactics. "But family helps family, Morgan. This is Vanessa's wedding. She's your sister. She almost died." Don't you want her to be happy? I gave her my bone marrow. I gave her 4 years of my income. I can't give her my future, too. You're being selfish. The word hit like a slap. I stood up. I'm not doing this. Where are you going? Anywhere but here. I left. He didn't follow. My phone buzzed in the car. Text from Dad. You're making a mistake. I deleted it. The collection calls started coming at all hours. They were relentless, threatening credit damage, wage garnishment, even legal action. My credit score, which had been decent at 720, plummeted below 500 within months. I couldn't get approved for a simple apartment lease and had to use a cosigner service that charged extra fees. There was one night in February 2022 when I sat on the floor of my studio with final notices spread around me, eating cold ramen, seriously considering dropping out of college to work full-time. I called the hospital billing department again, voice shaking, begging for more hardship options. They offered a slightly lower payment. I hung up and cried until I couldn't breathe. Then I got up, opened my laptop, and applied for another freelance gig. Giving up wasn't an option. Late February, early March, Corinne started calling. 7 calls in 10 days. I didn't answer. The voicemails escalated. First, Morgan, honey, let's talk. I'm sure we can work something out. Middle, your father is very hurt by your decision. This isn't like you. Last, after everything we've done for you, this is how you repay us? Vanessa is devastated. I saved every voicemail. She told extended family I was refusing to help. I found out when Uncle Calvin called. Your dad's drowning in wedding costs. Can't you loan them something? Did he tell you about the $138,000 I've already paid? What? The medical debt. From Vanessa's leukemia. I've been paying it for 4.5 years. Calvin was quiet. He never mentioned that. No one did, I said, because no one asked. Calvin didn't call back. Corinne wasn't done. Mid-March, Vanessa started posting vague Instagram stories. When people let you down. Family isn't always who you expect. Some people are takers, not givers. The comments poured in. You deserve better. Stay strong. Some people just don't appreciate second chances. That last one was from Ashley, one of Vanessa's bridesmaids. Jenna screenshot it all and sent it to me. Are you seeing this? Yeah. Do you want me to say something? No. Let them believe what they want. I know the truth. But it hurt. Watching them rewrite history. Watching them paint me as the villain. I saved all the screenshots, added them to a folder on my phone labeled Receipts. I didn't know yet that I'd need them. April 12th, 2026. Saturday, 2 weeks before the wedding. Dad's birthday was coming up, April 15th. I bought him a book on Oregon Trail history, something he'd mentioned wanting months ago, back when we still talked. I drove to the house in Lake Oswego. Vanessa's car was in the driveway. I hesitated. Thought about leaving the gift on the porch and going. But I knocked. Vanessa opened the door. Her smile dropped immediately. What are you doing here? Bringing Dad's birthday gift. She glanced back. I heard laughter inside. Bridesmaids. He's not here. I can leave it. Fine. I stepped inside anyway. 4 bridesmaids in the living room, surrounded by wedding magazines and champagne glasses. They stopped talking when they saw me. One of them, Ashley, looked me up and down. Oh, you're the sister. She said it like I was a rumor. Yeah, I said. I'm the sister. Vanessa grabbed my arm. Let's talk outside. She pulled me onto the porch, closed the door behind us. You can't just show up. I brought a birthday gift. You're making everything about you. Again. I felt something snap. When have I ever made this about me? You're jealous. You've always been jealous. Of what? that I'm getting married, that I have a life, that I survived. The word hung between us. You survived because of me, I said quietly. I gave you my bone marrow. I'm still paying for it. She went pale. That's not fair. What's not fair is... The door opened. Corinne appeared. What's going on? Vanessa's tears started. Real ones this time. She's yelling at me about the bone marrow thing again. The bone marrow thing? I repeated. Morgan, this isn't appropriate. You're upsetting her. I upset her? Dad's car pulled into the driveway. He got out, saw Vanessa crying, saw me standing there with his birthday gift in my hands, saw Corinne's protective stance. Morgan, what did you do? Not, what happened? Not, are you okay? What did you do? I tried to explain. He cut me off. I don't want to hear it. Dad, I just came to... You need to leave, now. I brought you a birthday. I don't care why you came. His voice rose. Get out. Her big day doesn't need a selfish, ungrateful embarrassment like you. The word embarrassment hit like a physical blow. I looked at Vanessa, standing behind Corinne, watching, not defending me, not saying anything. I looked at my father, the man who once called me his hero when I agreed to donate. I said one word. Fine. I dropped the birthday gift on the porch. It landed with a thud. Walked to my car. Got in. Drove away. I didn't cry. Didn't scream. Just drove. And I decided, I'm done. 20 minutes later, my phone buzzed. Text from Corinne. Don't contact us again until after the wedding. Vanessa needs peace. I blocked all their numbers. The first few days after I left were strangely quiet. I stayed at Jenna's place, sleeping on her couch. I kept checking my phone out of habit, half expecting an apology that never came. Instead, I felt a strange mix of grief and relief, like I had finally taken off a backpack filled with rocks I'd been carrying for years. Jenna's mom made me homemade lasagna and didn't ask questions. For the first time in a long time, I slept through the night without waking up from dead anxiety or family nightmares. April 13th, 2026. Sunday morning. Dad woke up feeling lighter. My absence felt like a problem solved. Corinne made coffee. See? You just had to be firm. At least she won't cause drama at the venue, Dad said. Vanessa came downstairs, still shaken from yesterday, but relieved. Is she coming to the wedding? No, Dad said. And that's probably for the best. Corinne nodded. Now we can focus on what matters, your perfect day. Vanessa looked at the calendar on the wall. April 26th, circled in gold marker. 2 weeks away. She smiled for the first time in days. Dad picked up my birthday gift from the porch where I'd dropped it. Still wrapped. He set it on the kitchen counter. He never opened it. The next week passed in a blur of final wedding details. Dress fitting, bachelorette party, bridal shower. Vanessa posted constantly. Countdown posts. Dress teasers. Almost Mrs. Mitchell captions. Zero mention of family drama. Everything looked perfect on social media. 2 weeks until I marry my best friend, feeling so grateful for this beautiful life and the people who love me unconditionally. Hashtag Bryce and Vanessa 2026. 1,200 likes. 87 comments. 1 comment from the venue coordinator, Patricia Hoffman. Congratulations. Looking forward to your beautiful day at Lakewood. Vanessa liked it. Didn't remember Patricia as her old nurse. April 20th. Sunday. 6 days before the wedding. Dad's $130,000 final payment check bounced. The venue accounting department sent an email. Final payment must clear by April 23rd per contract clause 8.3, or event will be canceled. Dad panicked. Tried to get a loan. Denied. Bankruptcy still on his record. Tried another 401k withdrawal. Already maxed out. He told Corinne over dinner. What do you mean the check bounced? I don't have it. I thought I could cover it, but… Call Morgan. I can't. She blocked us. Then unblock yourself. Fix this. She won't help. Make her. Dad tried emailing me. Email bounced. I'd filtered him. By April 21st, Lakewood Grand sent a second notice. Dad was out of options. What he didn't know, Patricia Hoffman was reviewing venue accounts that day. Saw the bounced payment. Saw Vanessa Nelson on the booking. The name was familiar. She checked her personal nursing journal, notes she'd kept throughout her career. Anonymized. Legal. Found an entry from August 2021. Bone marrow donor, early 20s. Sister VN, leukemia patient. Donor MN. Difficult recovery. Family visited donor 2 times in 4 weeks. Donor alone most of recovery. Patricia remembered. The young woman in pain. The family that stayed with the patient instead. She Googled Morgan Nelson Portland bone marrow donor. Found a GoFundMe from 2023. Help bone marrow donor pay medical debt. The description. In 2021, I donated bone marrow to save my sister's life. Due to insurance gaps, I'm responsible for $160,000 in medical debt. I've been working 3 jobs to pay it down. Any help appreciated. Amount raised, $9,800. Last updated, 2024. Patricia's heart sank. She looked at the venue contract again. Co-signer, Morgan Nelson. She made a decision. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Morgan Nelson? Yes. Who's this? My name is Patricia Hoffman. I was a nurse at Riverside Medical Center in 2021. I believe I cared for you after your bone marrow donation. My breath stopped. I remember you. I'm calling because I'm now the venue coordinator at Lakewood Grand Hotel. Your sister Vanessa booked her wedding here. Silence. I saw your name on the co-signer agreement. I found your GoFundMe. Morgan, are you still paying medical debt from saving her life? My voice came out flat. Yes. How much have you paid? $138,000. Over 4.5 years. Quiet on the other end. Then soft. And they kicked you out? 2 weeks ago. Can you email me documentation? Payment records. Billing statements. I need to verify before I take action. What action? That's what I'm trying to determine. Can you send me what you have? Why are you doing this? Because I was there, Morgan. I remember what you went through. I remember how little they visited. And I just read that you're still paying. That's not right. I sent the email that night. 18 attachments. 54 payment confirmations. Bank statements with account numbers blacked out. Billing records. The collection notice from October 2021. Total, $138,000 paid. Patricia called me back the next morning. I've reviewed everything. The venue contract has a clause. If the primary signer defaults on payment and the co-signer withdraws authorization, we must cancel. I didn't know I was a co-signer. Your father listed you in November. You signed the agreement. I barely remembered. He'd said it was just paperwork. Your father's payment bounced. He's in default. Per the contract, I'm required to confirm with all authorized parties. Do you authorize this event to proceed? Long silence. If I say no, the wedding is canceled. I closed my eyes. Thought about August 15th, 2021. 4 hours in surgery. 4 months of pain. 4.5 years of debt. Thought about Vanessa's Instagram. Survivor. Never sister. Thought about Dad screaming, "Get out." Thought about Corinne's text. "Don't contact us." I said, "No, I don't authorize it." "Understood," Patricia said. "I'll inform them." I hung up. Sat in silence for an hour. Then I texted Jenna. "I just canceled Vanessa's wedding. She called immediately. What? I explained everything. Good, Jenna said. They deserve it. I wasn't sure how I felt. Relief? Guilt? Rage? All three. April 24th, 2026. Thursday, 6 p.m., 2 days before the wedding. Patricia sent an email that morning. Emergency venue consultation required. Please bring bride, groom, immediate family, and wedding party. 6 p.m. today. 12 people gathered in the Lakewood Grand Conference Room. Dad, Corinne, Vanessa, Bryce. Bryce's parents, Douglas and Helen Mitchell. 4 bridesmaids, including Ashley. 2 groomsmen. Wedding planner Diane Foster. Everyone confused. Nervous. Patricia entered with a briefcase. Thank you for coming, she said. This won't take long. She opened the briefcase, pulled out the venue contract. Mr. Nelson, when you booked this venue, you listed Morgan Nelson as a co-signer on the payment agreement. That designation carries legal authority. Dad shifted uncomfortably. The payment is being handled. Your check bounced, Mr. Nelson. Your co-signer has been contacted per venue policy. Vanessa leaned forward. Morgan's not even invited to the wedding. Why does she matter? Patricia looked at her. Really looked at her. Because she's the reason you're alive to have one. The room went silent. Bryce turned to Vanessa. What does she mean? Patricia placed documents on the table, one by one. Hospital discharge summary from September 2021. Patient Vanessa Nelson received allogeneic bone marrow transplant from matched sibling donor Morgan Nelson, August 15, 2021. Transplant successful. Donor experienced post-operative complications requiring extended recovery. Medical billing statement. Total charges, $680,000. Insurance paid, $520,000. Outstanding balance, $160,000. Reason: services rendered June to July 2021 during insurance lapse. Payment records: 54 bank statements, monthly payments of $2,550. Total paid, $138,000. Email thread: February 18, 2026. Jeffrey requesting $130,000 loan. Morgan's response: I'm still paying Vanessa's medical debt. I can't. Text message screenshot. April 12, 2026. Corinne to Morgan: Don't contact us until after the wedding. Patricia's voice was calm, professional. The woman whose authorization you need, the woman whose name is on this contract, is the same woman who saved Vanessa's life 5 years ago. The same woman who has paid $138,000 of medical debt while working 3 jobs. The same woman you called an embarrassment and ordered out of your home 2 weeks ago. Helen Mitchell picked up the hospital summary. Read it. Looked at Vanessa. You had leukemia? Vanessa, pale. Yes, but... And your sister donated bone marrow. Yes, but that was years ago. Douglas Mitchell picked up the payment records. $138,000. She's been paying this for 4 years? Dad: We didn't know. You didn't know? Douglas's voice rose. Or you didn't ask? Bryce stood up. His face was white. I need air. He walked out. Vanessa started crying. Bryce, wait. He kept walking. The room erupted. Bridesmaids whispering. Ashley looking at the payment records, then at Vanessa. You never told us? It wasn't relevant. She saved your life. How is that not relevant? Diane Foster, the wedding planner, stood. I need to make calls. If this event is canceled, vendors need notice. Patricia nodded. The event is canceled, Ms. Foster. Morgan Nelson has withdrawn her authorization, and given what she's sacrificed, I cannot in good conscience override her decision. Corinne: This is absurd. You can't... Patricia cut her off. I can. and I have. Per contract clause 8.3, final payment must be received 72 hours prior to event date. In the event of payment default or dispute among payment parties, venue reserves the right to cancel. Your payment bounced. Your cosigner withdrew. You're in breach of contract. She looked around the room, at the shocked faces, at Vanessa crying, at Dad, pale and speechless. This venue cannot, in good conscience, host an event celebrating someone who is alive today because of a sacrifice she was then punished for making. Helen Mitchell stood, looked at Jeffrey. You should be ashamed of yourself. She walked out. Douglas followed. Bryce was already gone. Only Dad, Corinne, Vanessa, and Ashley remained, Vanessa sobbing, Corinne trying to salvage something. We can fix this. We'll call Morgan. Patricia closed her briefcase. She won't answer. And even if you find payment elsewhere, I cannot proceed without the cosigner's authorization. Ms. Nelson has withdrawn. This event is cancelled. She looked at Jeffrey. Maybe you didn't know about the debt, but you knew she saved Vanessa's life. You knew she suffered, and you still called her an embarrassment. That's enough. She left. Ashley quietly. I'm out. I can't be part of this. She left too. Vanessa alone with Jeffrey and Corinne, crying in an empty conference room. The wedding was gone. April 25th, 2026. Friday. Diane Foster sent a mass email to 37 vendors. The Nelson Mitchell wedding scheduled for April 26, 2026 at Lakewood Grand Hotel has been canceled due to unforeseen circumstances. Please process refunds per your contract terms. Responses came within hours. Florist. Refund $8,000, keep $2,000 cancellation fee. Caterer. Refund $18,000, keep $7,000. Photographer. Refund $4,000. Keep $1,000. DJ, band, hair and makeup, transportation. All partial refunds. Total lost, $58,000 in non-refundable deposits. Vanessa watched the email notifications pile up on her phone. Started counting. Realized how much was gone. Called Bryce, 17 times. No answer. Finally, a text from him. I need time. That night, Dad tried calling the Mitchells. Douglas answered. The wedding is off, Douglas said. Bryce needs space. We can work this out. I don't think you understand. My son is reconsidering the engagement. What? He feels you weren't honest about your family dynamics. We didn't lie. You didn't tell the truth either. That's the same thing. Click. April 26th, 2026. Saturday. Would-be wedding day. Vanessa woke up to an empty calendar and a silent phone. Bryce's mother Helen called Dad that afternoon. Bryce has decided he needs to speak with Vanessa. They're meeting tomorrow. Is he? I don't know what he's decided, but I can tell you that my husband and I are very disappointed in how your family treated the person who saved your daughter's life. April 27th, 2026. Sunday. Bryce agreed to meet Vanessa at a coffee shop downtown. She got there early. Waited. He arrived exactly on time. Sat down across from her. Why didn't you tell me? He said. Tell you what? That you had leukemia, that your sister donated bone marrow, that she saved your life. I didn't want to be defined by it. You posted about being a survivor 47 times on Instagram. You weren't hiding cancer. You were hiding her. Silence. Did you know Morgan was still paying your medical bills? Vanessa looked down. I didn't think about it. You didn't think about it. His voice was flat. Your sister donated bone marrow. 4 hours of surgery. Complications for months. She paid $138,000 over 4 years. And you didn't think about it. It's complicated. It's not complicated. She saved your life. You erased her. Then you let your parents call her an embarrassment. That's not complicated, that's cruel. I made a mistake. You made a choice. Multiple choices. He pulled the engagement ring from his pocket, placed it on the table between them. My mom asked me yesterday, "Is this the character I want my children to inherit?" I couldn't say yes. Vanessa stared at the ring. "I'm sorry, Vanessa. I can't marry you." "Bryce, please." He stood. "Keep the ring. Consider it payment for the lesson you didn't want to learn." He walked out. Vanessa sat there for 20 minutes, staring at that ring. Then she left it on the table and walked away. I wasn't there for any of it. I learned about the venue meeting from Jenna, who heard it from a friend who heard it from Ashley. The story spread through our social circles like wildfire. Whispers, screenshots, DMs. Some people defended Vanessa. She was sick. It's complicated. Most didn't. She let them kick Morgan out? Morgan's been paying debt for 4 years? And they called her an embarrassment? Vanessa's friend count dropped. 12 people unfollowed or unfriended her over 3 days. The perfect image was cracking. April 28th, 2026. Monday. I received a letter, forwarded from Dad's old address, postmarked April 28th. From Bryce Mitchell. "Morgan, I don't know if you'll read this. I hope you do. I'm writing to tell you that Vanessa and I are no longer engaged. I couldn't move forward with someone who treated you the way she did. I didn't know about the bone marrow donation. I didn't know about the debt. I didn't know any of it until that meeting. I want you to know that what you did, saving her life, was extraordinary. And you deserved so much better than what you got. I'm sorry I was part of a wedding that hurt you. I'm sorry I didn't know sooner. I hope you're okay. I hope you're healing. You deserve that. Bryce." I folded the letter, put it in a drawer, didn't respond, didn't need to, but it helped. Someone seeing, someone acknowledging. It helped. April 29th, 2026. Tuesday evening. I met Patricia for coffee. Same Stumptown where Dad had asked me for money. "How are you doing?" she asked. "I don't know yet, but I know I did the right thing." "You did. And for what it's worth, I'm sorry it took me 5 years to connect the dots." "You didn't know." "I should've. I saw you in recovery. I saw how much pain you were in. I saw how little they visited." She looked at me directly. "You deserve better than people who only see you when they need something." She gave me a therapist's number. She specializes in family estrangement. "If you ever want to talk?" I took the number. Then she mentioned, "Your GoFundMe is getting attention." "What?" "Portland mom groups found it, read it, people are donating." I checked my phone. The GoFundMe I'd abandoned in 2024 was suddenly active. $500, $1,000, $200, $50, 87 new donations in 4 days. Comments: "You deserve better. True heroes get punished." From one donor to another, your sacrifice matters. Total raised $28,000 in 4 days. I started crying right there in the coffee shop. Patricia handed me a napkin. "Let it out." That night, I made the final payment. $22,000 remaining balance. Total paid, $160,000, 4.5 years. The confirmation email arrived at 11:47 p.m. Subject: Final payment. Account closed. I screenshot it, closed my laptop, exhaled for the first time in years. April 29th, 2026. Evening. I went to a volunteer orientation at the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society Portland chapter. 30 people in the room. Donors, survivors, families, supporters. I met a 19-year-old named Sophie. She was donating bone marrow to her brother next month. Nervous. "Is it worth it?" she asked me. I thought about it. Really thought. It's worth it if they're worth it. You'll know by how they treat you after. She looked relieved. So I'm not a bad person if I need space later? You're a survivor too. Just a different kind. The group leader asked if anyone wanted to share their story. I stood up. My name is Morgan. I donated bone marrow 5 years ago to save my sister's life. It saved her. It almost destroyed mine. Not because of the procedure, but because of what came after. I looked around the room, at the faces watching me. I'm here to make sure other donors don't have to choose between saving someone and saving themselves. The room applauded. Sophie came up to me after. Thank you, I needed to hear that. I smiled. First genuine smile in months. April 30th, 2026. Wednesday, sunset. I walked along the Willamette River waterfront. The Portland bridges were lit up. Runners passing by. Couples holding hands. Life moving forward. My phone rang. Jenna. Dinner? Thai place? Yeah, I'll be there. I stood there for a moment, looking at the river, flowing, constant, moving forward. I thought about everything that led here. Mom's death, the slow erasure, Vanessa's diagnosis, the donation, the debt, the years of invisibility, the ejection, the venue meeting, the collapse. I'd given Vanessa my bone marrow. 4 hours of surgery. 4.5 years of debt. Almost 5 years of being treated like I didn't matter. She'd given me nothing but pain. But in the end, I'd given myself something she never could. Freedom. Freedom from people who only saw me when they needed something. Freedom to choose my own family. Freedom to walk away. And that was worth everything. I started walking toward the restaurant, toward Jenna, toward the family I'd chosen. Behind me, the river kept flowing. Always forward. If you've made it this far, thank you for listening. Morgan's story isn't unique. Too many people sacrifice for families that don't see them. If that's you, I need you to hear this. You are not selfish for having boundaries. You are not ungrateful for walking away. You deserve better. Leave a comment if you've ever had to choose between family and self-preservation. Share this video if you know someone who needs to hear it. And subscribe if you want more stories about people who chose themselves and survived. I'll see you in the next one.